great example of two decks laid about the same time. This was the one we've done on the refurbishment. Now this was a Merbau deck laid with original biscuit, untouched for about 8 years. I'm going to show you the next one, which we're going to work on as a comparison of when a deck is screw fixed with poor quality fixings. This deck here was Merbau, laid at the same time as the other job. The screws, I don't know what they were used by a contractor, but it's a great example. This deck now has to be completely replaced, removed, replaced, maybe even repair the joist. We won't know till we remove this decking. But it's a huge example of when you use DeckMax, you actually have an opportunity to refurbish the surface, not replace the entire deck. Let me just zoom in for you and you can see that some of the boards have even popped. The screws are broken off, the board is absolutely destroyed, there are cracks and splits everywhere, and this is what we try and explain to you why choose DeckMax. Here's a close-up. This is against a salt chlorinated pool, but most of the screws and even the wood, because where the screws go in, you can see they're all wet from the rain. Well, that's how the water goes through the board, through the screw, down into the joist and rots everything. It's an absolute disaster, so don't use the screws that are available on the market. They are going to ruin your deck, and it doesn't matter how they're prepared, you are going to have a major issue buying the same timber, just making a poor choice on asking the contractor or the contractor telling you to use screws. See, this board's even lifted. It's terrible. Each and every screw, every hole, every point has deteriorated, rusted, and it's the conduit for where the water goes through the board and goes into the decking and rots it. Okay, this is the start of actually refurbishing the deck. I've actually left the weather dry out the top of the joist before I've actually gone back over them. It's really important to let the joist dry out, or when you put your boards down, there's no way they can dry out. So the first thing we've started to do is to loose lay the boards. I've chosen some spotted gum for this job. It's not end matched, so this will be what we call a standard Pro. It does suit our Pro biscuit, and that's the typical equipment we're going to require. Cordless, couple of cordless, one with a drill bit for a pilot hole, the second is to fix with the screws, and of course the kit. That's what we call a 20 kit. It does 20 square meters, so I've got more than I require, but I'd rather that than run out. As you can see, there is angles on this corner of the pool. So what I've done, I've started on the angle on that straight edge, and I've literally fixed the main board, and then I can go either side of it. So it's my starting board. I've actually started in the middle of the deck. So that's the angle we've started at. We started at that 90 degree and we've picked up our first miter at 45 degrees. So what I've done, I've gone back about 6 or 7 boards, and now I'll come back and work back the other way on this angle. One thing I've done, I've set the clamps. So there's the 450 hooked under the joist, and there's the 600 reaching out and pulling the boards together. So what I'm going to do is I've reached back and catch the clamps, just put a little bit of pressure on them. This board wants to kick up, so all I use is our little 450 clamps that holds the board down. Set that in a few areas. Just watch your eye when you come to work with these, and then I'm going to simply capture this board and start to press them together. They will need a gentle tap. Press the button. So simply go along in our position, the biscuits in place. Now this is going down on an old joist, so you want to move your biscuits away from any old original screw holes. And just using your cordless, On that one I simply move the screw to the side to get away from the old hole. I keep my finger under the back leading edge, and once you feel pressure, just back it off, don't keep driving it. Fixing backwards this way is also an alternative, and you can still keep the angle, and then you're working from a steady platform rather than walking between the joists. Again, keep the finger under the biscuit. As soon as you feel pressure, stop. To finish off, I'm going to use a counter bore and plug. It's how I start, it's also how I finish. On this deck in particular, what I've done is to counter bore and sink all the edge boards. So it's simply a counter bore tool. I come in from the edge, I repeat that process. Insert the screw. Going to do the end as well. Spot where the centre of the joist is. This one here is running off at an angle. So that's the counter bore tool, sets the depth. Sometimes you may let a little black ring around the top. It will sand off, and that's as easy as using the counter bore and plug tool. So this is the wood plug kit. It actually comes with the plug and the counter bore tool, sets the diameter. Now the plugs simply fit into place. There is a chamfered side down. They will sit proud. There we'll just trim the tops of them off, and that gives you your fully sanded timber surface. Okay, deck is now replaced using Deck Max. It took about half a day going back over. I've used spotted gum here, beautiful timber. That's the wider board, and it just came up absolutely magic. Compared to how it was, I think you'd have to agree that that was worth the effort. Continuing a good overview of the renovation. You can see it just goes beautifully with all the colours. No nails, no screws.